we wanted to bring some of the specific experiences in the Canadian market and try to understand what's happening here, which is so special. I'm very happy to say that we've got a unique perspective into a very important area that's happening out there. Because I think what we all need to celebrate is, yes, the economic and financial success that you collectively are mastering right now, but also the importance of what we do for society. Communication, whether it is supporting businesses or supporting consumers, is an incredible value to our social fabric. And so, in other words, I would like really to start highlighting one of those real big impacts that we have. And very happy to say that Catherine Hay, the President and CEO of a KidsHelpPhone, is coming to talk to us about their unique experiences. If there is a reason to look at these communication channels, treasure it and protect it, I think we probably have it here in front of us. Catherine.
Dario, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everyone. I have to echo Dario. TJ and Susan have been just wonderful to work with, so thank you. And thank you, Dario, for that. Oh, high tech. I don't think I have a slide. Oh, yes, I do. Look at that. So it's super nice to be here with all of you. As Dario said, my name is Kathy Hay, and I have the privilege, and I'm humbled every single day to represent the young people of Canada and the organization that is KidsHelpPhone, which we're going to dive into a little bit so much. I thank you for having me join your discussion today. It may have been a question you were asking yourself. I probably would ask the same question myself. What the heck is a not-for-profit charity doing opening up your day? A youth mental health helpline, no less. And I think it's a good question. And as I said, I might have asked that myself too. And just warning, fair warning, and I'm glad I have a bit of extra time because my nickname is Chatty Cathy. But let me give you some, those who laughed, you aged yourself. Let me give you some context as to why I think it's important that I open up your day a little bit, and also the gravitas of that why. And perhaps at the end of my chat with you, I'll have a bit of a call to action for us all. So first of all, let me give you some context on the why. And I think that's in the story of KidsHelpPhone. We are not what you think we are. In fact, we're not a helpline, as weird as that sounds. And I want to pick up on something that Dario said on trust. And I saw those trust numbers in Canada being 49%, I think I saw. That's really disconcerting in a world of digital and in our world virtual care. I want to brag a little bit. I'm going to brag a lot, I'm just saying. But KidsHelpPhone is the #1 trusted charity in Canada right now. We moved up from #3 this time last year. And for us, everything anchors against trust because our customer base, I suppose, are young people and their mental health. So KidsHelpPhone is the only national, bilingual, well, multilingual now, 24/7 e-mental health service and solution for young people in this country, coast to coast to coast. Kids as young as 5, all the way through to about 28. That is a typical day for KidsHelpPhone. Young people reach out to us for all kinds of reasons. We like to say no problem or feeling is too small, and no issue is too big when you're reaching out. Depression, anxiety, suicide and suicide ideation. In fact, about 23% of all the work we do is in suicide and suicide ideation. Self-harm, relationships, school issues, family issues. And I think what's really interesting, and it shows the changing landscape that we all are working in a mobile digital environment, but certainly the changing landscape our young people are grappling with. Here's an issue that is close to our top 5 right now that has bubbled up over the last few months. And that issue is around climate anxiety and the environment. And this is how powerful it is on young people. We saw a 30% increase in volume in May to June. And you'll know in Canada, we have significant wildfire challenges right now, which is driving home issues around anxiety. So we consider ourselves at KidsHelpPhone a 34-year-old startup. We began as a startup with the mindset of that startup kind of, you got to change with the times, and the times could change every month, as part of our DNA. And we continue to do that evolution because we have to meet the needs of young people. When we began our work 34 years ago, we were disruptors. We were pioneers in virtual care in Canada. We were the first, and I air quote, health, because that's a wide swath, but we were the first health organization in the country to use a high-tech device to reach young people wherever they are, or wherever and whenever. And that high-tech device, folks, was a telephone. And we used a telephone to connect a young person with a professional counselor. That was 34 years ago, and we did that nationally, and that was disruption in the world of youth and mental health. That was virtual care. That was actually innovation. Not necessarily a shiny gadget, but a really powerful tool. And all we were trying to do at the time was not be cool innovators. We were just trying to save lives and impact lives. We were the only 24/7 national bilingual helpline. I will call us a helpline back then. And the need was great. So here we are today, 34 years later, and we continue to disrupt because kids are changing faster than ever. Technology even faster. You all know this. Steady state is not an option for KidsHelpPhone. The stakes are way too high. We use digital assets, virtual care platforms, technology, AI, ML to triage. In fact, KidsHelpPhone remains the only e-mental health solution in Canada that uses AI, ML to triage to most acute situations, triage through our AI protocol. Around suicide, we get to it in 45 seconds. Every other solution in the country is first come, first serve. And we use data analytics in a significant way. We use our data. We have the most significant data set in the country on youth and mental health. The only one, actually, that is in real time and natural language. And in fact, we know what was worrying the young people of Canada, what they were talking about. We know yesterday what they were worried about, coast to coast to coast, because they were talking to us about it. And so this data drives all our decisions. It drives our innovation, and it in fact fuels the landscape change in the sector. So I think the word "so" is interesting because I will use it a lot, so forgive me. But so what? I mean, that's great, but why does it really, really matter? And I talked a bit about KidsHelpPhone, and we've all been through a lot over the last few years. But now let me share a little bit of the lay of the land on the state of youth and mental health in this country right now. And I think that'll really drive home why this matters. Right now, well, I will just boldly say youth in Canada are in a state of crisis, a mental health crisis. I want to state boldly and remind folks that in this country, there was a crisis for youth and mental health before the pandemic hit. That affects every single person in this country, and we're experiencing in real time things like war and trauma, social injustice, racism, discrimination, climate change, suicide. These are issues top of mind for young people in Canada, and we hear it on our virtual front lines every single day. So here's reality check. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people. This was before COVID. It remains today in Canada and in many, many, many countries. In Canada, and welcome, by the way, folks, to Canada, and I'm welcoming you to a really great country. And so this data point is staggering to me. In Canada, we enjoy, air quote, the third highest suicide rate in the industrialized world in Canada, in a country that has much. So where you live, the color of your skin can actually dictate the difference between accessing support or not accessing support. The biggest barrier, according to mental health research, for young people and accessing mental health is interesting. There's three really interesting things here. The biggest barrier we see, it's about 50% of, if you put a quotient on what's the barrier, is a young person thinks their problem isn't big enough, or their problem will go away, or they can just handle it themselves. That is considered a major barrier. So remember that. Because these stark data points and reality checks are, in fact, the so what for the work we do and the innovations that we're diving into. So let me take that little bit of a deeper dive right now into KidsHelpPhone. I think that's why I'm here today, because there was a pivotal moment 5-6 years ago, and with that, we tag it as our mindset shift. There was a moment 5-6 years ago at KidsHelpPhone. We were disruptors, but we're a whole different organization now. We knew 5-6 years ago that the speed of how kids were changing and technology changing even faster than that, at warp speed, we knew that we needed to make some very strategic decisions, or we would be redundant as an organization, a loved organization in Canada. We would be redundant likely in 3 years. Think about it, technology, just you know, and kids changing. So we literally around the board table and executive table said, steady state is just not an option for us. With digital and virtual care in our hands at KidsHelpPhone, it's not an option. And we actually used probably one of the more famous cases in business schools everywhere. We chanted almost that if we didn't do a mindset shift 5-6 years ago, we would be the Kodak of the not-for-profit sector. And those of you that know what that means is Kodak in the 90s held the patents for digital photography and chose to stay where they were comfortable, which was in paper, Kodachrome or whatever. They were bankrupt in 5 years and off the Dow Jones Industrial Average, or whatever it is, sorry, before that. So we kept saying we cannot be the Kodak of the not-for-profit sector. And so to do what we needed to do, we really wanted to understand who we were. And that sounds a little odd. It's kind of obvious, right? What we wanted to do, okay, we understand what's obvious about us. Kodak understood what was obvious. They were, great big huge camera company, used great paper. It had a whole bunch of bells and whistles. What we understood, it's obvious. We're a charity. We don't have to double down on that. That's obvious. So we didn't put that away. We just put that beside us. And here's the other odd thing that we did. We thought it was obvious at KidsHelpPhone, national loved brand. We thought it was pretty obvious that everything about us was youth and mental health. So we didn't put that away. We just put that close to us. And what we did is we put the not so obvious right in front of us. And it was an intentional move for us. And right in front of us, what we put was innovation, data, and technology right in our line of sight as to who we were. So at that point, we understood that we were in fact not a youth charity that uses technology. That was really radical at the board table 5-6 years ago to say, you know what, we're not a youth charity that uses technology. What we said we were was we were an innovation, data-driven tech company, and we use the word company, with a laser-sharp focus on youth and mental health. All the same words I've just been using for the last 5 minutes, all the same. Reordered differently, nuanced differently, and it changed everything for us. And from there, we launched what we call the innovation imperative. Imperative being a very intentional word, again, back to that steady state not being an option. It changed how we organized ourselves, it changed how we thought about ourselves, it changed how we spoke about ourselves, and it changed our mojo, how we swaggered a little bit in the world of technology. We didn't sort of come in apologetically, or even in our own sector space. It changed how we operated our front lines, that we brought in AI, ML to support them. Our funding model changed. We literally changed course. That was a simple mindset shift. And the understanding of what was not so obvious was actually the imperative for our own future. And that means meeting the needs of young people. So let me talk about that need just for a little tiny bit. And I'm just watching my time. The impact of these key and intentional decisions. If we were standing here together 3 years ago, I'd have said exactly the same thing, exactly. And I would have told you that KidsHelpPhone in 2019 supported 1.9 million young people coast to coast to coast in 2019. That was 30% growth year over year from the year before. As a company, 30% growth is pretty awesome. That was an extraordinary year. So I give you that as a little bit of perspective. That was before COVID. And while I just talked a little bit about, our swagger, while we thought we were pretty smart 5-6 years ago with our innovation imperative, we actually probably were a little bit smug about it, politely so as a Canadian, but smug nonetheless. What we actually were doing, unbeknownst, I think that's a word, unbeknownst to us, was we were building for COVID. When the entire globe shut down, which we all remember, Canada shut down, all of us remember. Schools, community centers, workplaces, malls, you name it, all the places young people go for whatever they might need, from social to actual mental health support or community support. KidsHelpPhone did not shut down. In fact, we did the opposite. We scaled and we scaled and we scaled again. We launched new programs, we launched new services. Remember, we are virtual care and digital. It was in our hands. We were now scaling. We even supported other organizations that didn't have the infrastructure, were land-based or building-based, and we helped them deliver service using the horsepower of not only our infrastructure, but our data. And I also want to remind you what I said earlier, there was a mental health crisis before. So as the world was increasingly more challenging, with all of us consuming it in real time, so were young people. And I don't know if I should double down on this, but I think I will. Oop, I almost fell, that would have been really odd. 2020 started out as a really tough year before COVID. And we see things like this on our platforms. When things happen in the world, that day we see spikes on our platform. We see it all the time, the impact to young people. And when we see spikes, by the way, they never go back to the way it was before. We continually see a spike, goes down a bit, another spike, go down a bit. So you see how our world is, and that steady state thing's just not good. So the start of 2020, massive fires in Australia, massive. On every single social media channel, TV channel, you name it. Back then, that was pretty horrible. You could see it now. But what young people were seeing were trees on fire with koala bears on top. That's the start of 2020. 2 weeks after that, there was a passenger jet shot down by a terrorist bomb. There were 63 Canadian people on that plane. We got another big spike. Shortly after that, the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash happened. And those things really impact young people. Another spike. Then COVID. And in Canada, we had a mass shooting with mass casualties in April. Another spike. The murder of George Floyd, social injustice. I could go on. But what I want to make sure I tell you all, folks, is in there are major silver linings. So let me talk about the silver linings, because KidsHelpPhone didn't go dark. I told you that, not for 1 second, by the way. And by the way, when you scale like that in your companies, you might have to decide, what do I give so that I can scale so much and drive volume? In our case, we could have given on wait times, or we could have given on quality. We didn't give on any of it. We scaled and scaled. Our wait time stayed about 3.5 minutes on average, still are, and our quality scores are over 90%. So there's bragging. But the silver lining here is young people were reaching out. They were finding us through all the ways that we use tactics to reach them. So since March of 2020, KidsHelpPhone has interacted and supported youth more than 15.5 million times since the start of COVID. That's the power of virtual care. That's the power of digital technology and decisions that were made before we knew about COVID. So 15.5 million times, that's 15.5 million points of courage, in our opinion. That is real-time impact of all of the work you do in this room around technology, innovation, data, and we're using it on an e-mental health solution platform. Let me give you a fact that's really powerful. Remember what I said about big barrier for young people in their mental health. This is real-time impact. Over 75% of young people that reach out to KidsHelpPhone tell us something they have never told anyone before. That is barriers dropping right there. So all of this is because of that mindset shift that I talked to you about. And in fact, while our very being is about youth and mental health, it's fully anchored in innovation, data, technology, and trust. Our service is woven into the fabric of our society. There is no question about that. And we also believe that the future depends on the well-being of young people. So those are the stakes at hand. And here we are again, 5, 6 years later, understanding we need to mindset shift again. And I suspect the next time we have to do it, it won't be 5 years from now, probably be 3 years from now. I won't drive into the kids changing faster, tech even faster than that. But I tell you what we really want at KidsHelpPhone. After, like all of us, we've all been through trauma, COVID, and that was hell. What we would love to do with our baseline of exhaustion is just take it easy, just rest. Let's live in our technology for a little while. It'll be okay. Breathe, as one might say. I think that was Ted Lasso. But that's not who we are. We can't take it easy for 2 years. Steady state, right? That's not the option. So what are we going to do now? Just a bit of a recap. Innovation is our DNA. we're a startup. KidsHelpPhone is a leader in technology-enabled e-mental health solutions. KidsHelpPhone has the largest data set in youth and mental health in the country. We build better programs, and we seek to reshape the e-mental health landscape. We use this data to enhance delivery. So there's your recap. 2 weeks ago today, or tomorrow, KidsHelpPhone struck a groundbreaking partnership with the Vector Institute at the University of Toronto. Vector Institute is a globally renowned artificial intelligence AI institute that empowers researchers to develop and adopt AI responsibly. This partnership allows KidsHelpPhone to deepen and expand our evidence-based work and service delivery for young people across Canada. This partnership leverages AI to further develop triaging, navigating, and empowering young people themselves to find what they need in our ecosystem. As a leader in innovation, AI, ML is not new to KidsHelpPhone. We've been using AI to support our frontline team for, since 2018, since that innovation imperative. Partnership with the Vector Institute will ensure KidsHelpPhone stays on that leading edge of innovation and the ethical use of AI as we boldly grow and scale as we need to. I reinforce KidsHelpPhone has and will always deliver service human to human. And that's important for people to know. We're not replacing people with bots or robots. And we will firmly and always stand on the principles of safe AI. We will use AI ML to assist our clinicians with research and data analytics to build and scale existing or new programs. So I think I'm gonna just bring us to a little bit of wrap up because I'd love some questions because we have to galvanize a country behind youth and mental health. We're creating this movement together. Its evolution, that next inflection point is now for us. And I will tell you, we're not thinking about it, we're in play on it. And it's bold. When we set this path and this discussion in the fall, a few months ago, we understood we're not quite sure how to get there yet. But that's the startup mentality. And we also said if we know how to get there now, then it's not bold enough. It's our next step, might be a good next step, but it's not bold enough. So we will be launching, here's some hot off the press stuff. So if there's press in the room, KidsHelpPhone will be launching a Centre for Applied Research and Innovation for Youth Mental Health in Canada. It will be informing and helping to shape the landscape through our data and applied research. And we will also be incubating bold new ideas for our future within this center. So lots of incubating, accelerating, probably a bit of failure in there. Because we imagine and we will build with partners a personalized ecosystem of programs, services, resources that young people can custom tailor so that they can thrive in their world. Gamified, curated, safe, curated by KidsHelpPhone as well. So reinforcing the future of Canada, future of our world actually depends on the youth of today. And they need the support to thrive. And so that's our mission. It's quite simple. And we are a consummate partner. We didn't do any of this without partnership. We partner really, really, really well. We build some technology. We partner with many others to build the rest. So here's my call to action. My call to action to all of you that are deeply embedded in innovation, in data, and driving system change, is get involved with us or in your country. Bring your brain power to the table. Help change the landscape. You've got so many tools, and nobody can do this alone. We cannot do this alone. We need partners for the solution. So, and the stakes are pretty darn high. They're higher than they've ever been. So there's my call to action. And I thank you. And yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. That was remarkable. Thanks opening up. And I introduced you as, effectively the charity. Then you turn to be, as you said, a startup or tech company. A startup, I would say that's in your mindset, because you seem to have numbers for not the startups. So looking at your thousands of volunteers, your revenue as a charity, that's a pretty sizable one. I suspect there are some questions there. I will invite you to sit down if you want, so we can have a relaxed chat while we have our microphones out there, and we see if any of you would like to have a questions. If not, we'll see if there's some preparing, but I will ask the first one, first myself, and then we get prepared. Well, we have looked at your increasingly technological view of the market. So you use AI, you invested in technology. Tell us, what do you see out there for the telecommunication market? Because you're using all of us right now, your phone, your SMS, everything else. What's coming up? What's your view of this market then as a
well, that's a great question. And it's interesting, when we introduced AI into our work 5 years ago, it was when we introduced texting, so that young people could text to a crisis responder. And that was completely game-changing for the sector in Canada. But it wasn't about texting. I mean, we've all been texting for years and years and years. It was about the platform that it was built in. And it was where we embedded AI, ML, also data analytics, periscope analytics, to really build trends and whatnot. So your question about it is, where do you go next? For us, I think it's, you can't be afraid. That was a really fearful moment. You can be, let me rephrase that. You should be afraid. You should be thoughtfully, cautiously, ambitiously afraid. And you should do your homework. You should really know what you're getting into, 100%. But you should be bold. And your customers, in a nanosecond, will go somewhere else. In a nanosecond, our young people will not pick up that phone, chat, text, or come through our gateway. You'll lose clients. We'll lose young people. So I guess where I see it is definitely using AI and machine learning, and it has it's so interesting, because we launched this partnership 2 weeks ago, and AI is not a warm fuzzy in the media at all. And here we are, this scrappy little charity, partnering with the grandfather of AI at the Vector Institute. And we prepared for every possible onslaught of negativity coming from media. We expected investigative journalism, and we got we did 46 interviews in 48 hours, television, radio interviews on it. It was almost like a breath of fresh air for media, as weird as that might sound, that there was a good news story around AI. So I digress on what your question was, but that is about, we knew we were going to have some tough questions. We knew that nobody had done this before with Vector and a charity in Canada. We could have said, oh, I'm not sure we're ready for that. Or, let's just chill for a year or so. You can't. None of you can. In your businesses, we can't, because everything's going to move faster beyond you, and then you're chasing. And once you start chasing, you become an average company. And average will kill any company, whether you're a not-for-profit or a for-profit. So what I see for us next is harnessing harnessing the young person, let them co-create with us. We see gamification. We're already using some of that, and we really do see a gamified ecosystem that I don't know where blockchain fits. We don't know yet, so that's why we know it's bold. But we know the ecosystem strategy of wrapping a service around a young person and letting them choose what's in their ecosystem that we make sure is safe and their data is safe. We know that's the right direction. We just don't know how to get there. So,
so we hear how you are not such an average company at all as a tech company. You're really looking forward. Gamification, blockchain, AI, exciting stuff. Let's see what questions the people have in the room. We have one over there.
I wanted to thank you for being here today. It's very inspirational, your story, and it really resonates with me. And so I had kind of a two-part question. One was, what skill sets do you need as a woman in leadership to make a company like this so successful and drive innovation in this way? And the second part is, how can we be partners? Do you see messaging as a vehicle for delivery of technology or something that we can really help innovate to assist your use case?
So those are two different questions. Women in leadership. With respect to the many men in the room, which I'm assuming are all allies to women and those that, you know, it's harder to be a woman in leadership. It's just harder. We have to work harder. And maybe we have to forgive ourselves a little bit. I just think, for me, what I constantly think about is when people say change is hard. It is hard. And some people just don't like change. Well, lots of people don't like change. And, you know, people won't change with you. That I disagree with, because we as humans are actually really good at change. We adapt to change every single day. We get up, it's raining. Oh no, I thought it was going to be sunny. Oh no, I couldn't get parking downstairs, by the way. So we're constantly adapting, and we figure it out. So, and sometimes it's really hard. So for me as a woman, I don't know. I just understand that I've got to step into the change as opposed to try and make it all perfect before I step in. And that's the other thing for me, is values are everything. And if I had my book here, I have 6 of them that I identified so many years ago. I literally write them in my book, every single book I've had for 20 years. And I look at them. If I'm going into a tough meeting, going into celebrating something. But here's the thing for me, I don't think this has anything to do with being a woman. This is just being a human. When I make a decision, and I'm in my values making a decision, and it doesn't work out, then it didn't work out. But, you know, in that little curvy path, I'll find a pathway. If I make a decision outside my values, it doesn't work out. Those are my mistakes. And, I mean, we all make mistakes. So get back in your values and try and figure out how to fix that mistake. That's the only, like, it's not rocket science for me. But it is harder to be a woman. It's harder to be a Black professional, an Indigenous professional, a person of color. It is harder. So thanks for the question. What was your other question?
Do you see SMS as a vehicle for the delivery of your service, or how can we help innovate?
I will translate that. Do you see SMS, so if you were watching us, as SMS as a vehicle for communications?
Yes, so do you see SMS simply as a vehicle for delivering your technology, or how can we help innovate with you?
Yes, for sure. And also, however a young person, or however any person, we build things for all ages too. Our texting platform is an all ages. We have an all ages platform. So the answer is yes to that, because we need to be wherever a person is, a young person is, to get service. So yes. And how can you help? as we're building this center for incubation and applied research and building new technology, we of course we need funding. Everybody, it would be stupid for me to say I don't need any money. But we'll figure that out. I always believe funding will follow. Good strategy, you know, dogged, determined grit or whatever. But what we need at the table are the engineers, the good thinkers, the ones that'll push us, hear us. That's actually what we need. And I'll guarantee you, folks in other countries, organizations like KidsHelpPhone need that too.
Incredible. The more I hear you, the more I realize that you're really at the forefront, you know, of what's happening out there. A lot of the companies out there worldwide would love to have all of the expertise that you seem to amass in the last, well, 35 years, as you say. We don't have time, but I will still try to squeeze one more question if there is one question from anybody else. We do have over there. There is a microphone coming to Moons. Well, just wait a second for...
If you just say your name.
So we can record your voice as well. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for coming over here. Quick question. You know, I always believe that the problem of the youth today is a global problem tomorrow. So based on your, like, you know, all these historical data sets that you have, statistically, for the last 1 year, what are the top 5 problems that, you know, the youth have faced in Canada?
Yeah, so KidsHelpPhone is a founding partner to an organization called Child Helpline International. That's about 96 countries. A lot of them are helplines. We are, by nature of how we do our delivery and the multiple products we have different names as well, like Good to Talk is actually KidsHelpPhone, but it's in universities and whatnot. I tell you that because we do have a consortium of countries that come together regularly to understand what's going on with youth and mental health. No question, depression and anxiety is a consistent top reason why young people are reaching out in every country that we partner with. Second would be relationships. That could be family. That could be at school, cyberbullying, all of, like, we would group that in there. The third most significant reason, certainly for KidsHelpPhone, is suicide and suicide ideation, self-harm, so very acute. Those would be our top 3. And then, you know, with COVID, it's shifted a little bit. Isolation, loss, and grief. Kids are experiencing that in ways they never have before.
Great, thank you. I think we're really late now, but perfectly on time at the same time, because it was so great to have you. It was so great to listen to what is a story I would love to come back to and see all the things that you're doing, because I love to hear that this channel has got AI working, omni-channel working, all of the attention of the sentiment analysis that you're doing. Fantastic stuff. We will take notes. Thank you again.